Today, health psychology is one of the most innovative and exciting fields within psychology. Researchers are studying the reasons why people become ill, the ways in which people respond when they are ill, and the ways in which people maintain their health. It's now believed that there are at least 4 ways in which psychology and medical problems are related. First, some organic malfunctioning or tissue damage may be psychogenic. That is, the illness is directly caused by an individual's psychological state of anxiety, tension, or depression. Peptic ulcers can be caused by excessive anxiety. So can hypertension, allergies, and skin disorders, to name just a few.
And sometimes I have a headache up above here and in my shoulders.
In the second category of mind-body ailments are all the complaints which patients bring to physicians that turn out to have no apparent organic basis: headaches, exhaustion, and weakness. Instead, these ailments are physical symptoms of underlying sources of tension and personal problems.
How are you?
I'm much better.
In what way?
Well, I feel that I can eat again, that's one thing.
Once the problems are resolved, the symptoms will go away. Third, psychological factors can also work indirectly by weakening or strengthening our resistance to disease. They can affect the impact of disease agents on the body by suppressing or supporting the body's immune system. And lastly, there are the psychological factors that help cause unhealthful behavior, which in turn causes illness. Half of all deaths in the U.S. are now attributed to unhealthful behavior patterns, such as smoking. By studying these mind-body relationships, health psychologists like Judith Rodin of Yale University hope to find ways to improve our health and well-being. In pioneering studies with elderly people, Rodin and her colleague Ellen Langer discovered how relatively subtle psychological factors can bring about significant physiological changes.
For many years, people believed that there was a kind of inevitable, genetically determined march towards decline that came along with aging. And our research has now shown in a variety of ways and in a variety of studies that people actually may experience some kind of decline with aging, but that it's neither inevitable nor is it the same for every person. We did a series of studies in nursing homes where we actually gave people an increased sense of control, gave them a greater number of choices over events in their lives, things to take care of, a sense of entitlement and greater sense of power over their environment. And we measured physical health outcomes, a variety of physical health conditions, and ultimately we also measured death outcome. And we found that the people with a greater sense of control, a feeling of responsibility, actually did better, both in terms of physical health and also there were indeed fewer deaths. Once we can demonstrate that psychological factors affect health, the burning question, of course, is the mechanism by which that relationship occurs.
To find this mechanism, Rodin and other health psychologists are focusing on the body's immune system, the complex network of specialized organs and cells that defend the body against attacks by antigens, foreign organisms like viruses and bacteria. When the immune system functions properly, it fights off infection. But when it malfunctions, an incredible variety of diseases can flourish, from allergies to terminal cancer. To fend off antigens like these that cause disease, the body has devised a series of defenses. First, there are the body's external defenses, the skin, and the mucous membranes coated with antibodies. If an antigen makes it past them, it still has to contend with white blood cells, T cells, and B cells. How can psychological factors affect such a complex biological system? Through the brain.
There's been an explosion in research in basic immunology showing the interconnections between the brain and the immune system. And once it's clear that the brain speaks to the immune system, then the potential for psychological variables affecting immune function is absolutely enormous. There are many ways that the brain can influence the immune system. Two in particular have been well demonstrated. One is that there's actually hard wiring, meaning that there are nerve connections between various regions in the brain and lymphocytes and other organs in the immune system, so that it's quite clear that there could be crosstalk through neural transmission. And the second way is through what we call wet kinds of connections, the endocrine system. And there's now clear evidence that there are receptors for various hormones actually on the lymphocytes in the immune system. So there they are sitting there able to be responsive to changes in neuroendocrine responses.
One area in which the interaction between psychological factors and the immune system may have important impact is human fertility. Rodin is exploring this question with infertile couples.
We're interested in couples who have infertility of unknown origin, and many of them come to in vitro fertilization, which is an opportunity to actually have a fertilization outside of the uterus and then have the fertilized egg implanted in the uterus. And while it's biologically a very precise procedure, the success rate is only about 20%. And we're interested in the question of whether the stress of the procedure itself may cause a set of immune responses that make the woman less likely to accept the fertilized egg. So it's a very important model system for really looking at the effects of psychological variables, in this case stress, on a very major biological outcome, implantation. We're not saying that immune factors are the cause of the infertility. We're saying that immune factors may be the cause of the rejection of the fertilized egg in this unique experimental procedure, in vitro fertilization.
The area of health psychology that has the greatest practical applications is also the area in which the most research has been done. Its primary object of study affects us all and has even been called the classic disease of civilization. You and I know it as stress. Stress is defined scientifically as the pattern of responses an organism makes to events that disturb its equilibrium, tax its ability to cope, or exceed its ability to cope. These disturbing events are known as stressors. They may be part of the physical environment, noise, overcrowding, disease, natural disasters, or they can come in other forms, from the social environment, unemployment, crime, family troubles, the loss of a loved one. Then there are life's little hassles, like being late.
Sorry I'm late. Oh, well, okay.
This is a rating scale of stressful events and their impact, devised by several psychologists. It begins with relatively minor events and gets progressively worse. Notice that stress isn't just a matter of external events. We can also be a major source of stress to ourselves by being overly competitive and aggressive, easily angered, prone to anxiety, or overly self-critical, by being rigid and demanding.